So last time we had a look at the two biggest household expenses. This time we're going to have a look at some other items that you can cut back on pretty easily. So next, let's talk about the cost of food. Everybody loves food, especially Benny. So I think most people know that eating out is more expensive than cooking your own food and staying in. But maybe most people don't know to what degree. One meal out could feed you for sometimes almost a week. You could get a whole week of meals for the price of, a nice fancy meal out. Takeout, dining out, it's very expensive compared to preparing food at home, preparing food yourself. Groceries are expensive, yes, but again, it really depends what you buy. If you buy frozen, pre-prepared food, that's going to cost a lot more than buying raw ingredients and making the food yourself. And the other benefit to making the food yourself is it's often a lot healthier. Now, another thing that's quite interesting is that animal-based food, aka meat, is a lot more expensive than plant-based food. I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan, but Mel and I have definitely cut down on the amount of meat that we eat, and one of the simple reasons is just cost. You can definitely save some money, so it's something to consider. And there's also the environmental aspect. You can certainly help the environment out by eating less meat as well. Another thing with food and groceries, a lot of people think that buying in bulk is going to save you a lot of money. Sometimes it can, but not always. Stores try to convince you to buy more all at once. The trouble is that a lot of food does not last forever. So if that food that you buy goes bad, you definitely have not saved any money then. So the final big category of expenses for most people is the other category. I'm going to look at some of the bigger items. So coffee and alcohol. I certainly enjoy both of them, but I do try to make my coffee at home. Buying coffee out at Starbucks or Tim Hortons for Canadians, it actually adds up to substantial sums of money. Alcohol. Having a glass of wine with a meal out is pretty expensive compared to having a glass of wine at home. I'm not saying that you should never order alcohol with your meal when you're dining out. Mel and I certainly do that, but you probably want to limit it to special occasions. It's not the kind of thing that you want to do every evening. Drinking at home is less expensive. Have people over. A dinner party is a lot more frugal and can be a lot more fun even than eating out. And of course, just cutting back on coffee and alcohol in general can help you save money. That's something that I've actually been doing over the past year or so. Again, you can save some money. That's going to get you closer to financial independence. So other big ticket items include cable, internet, phone, and other subscriptions like Netflix, Disney. Add up all of your digital subscriptions and see what that money comes out to. Take a look and see if you actually need the top-of-the-line internet plan. I mean, maybe you do. We have a really good internet plan here because, all of my work, all of my hobbies pretty much focus on the internet, so it's worth it for us to have super fast internet. Look at your phone plan. Do you really need a massive data plan? Or can you get an app that will actually save things for you on Wi-Fi and then not use data while you're out? There's lots of little things like that you can do to save money on subscriptions. Another big thing in the other category is what I would call toys. As I'm talking into a rather expensive camera, I'm reminded that that's one of my biggest weaknesses. Of course, I've got, the expensive laptop and big monitor. I love electronics and toys, but those are another thing that can really add up. So think carefully about what you're buying. I always try to use the put it in your cart rule on Amazon. So I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Basically, anything that you think you want to buy, put it in your cart or put it on a wish list and come back to it a couple days later. Usually, you look at it and you say, oh, you know what? I was really big on that, but I don't actually think I need it. And you'll just take it off your wish list. So disable the one-click buy on your Amazon and give yourself a little waiting period before you pull the trigger. And that applies to just everything, just kind of stuff in general. Think really carefully about whether you need something or whether it's really going to bring you joy, or if it's just going to end up in a closet or a drawer somewhere and it's just going to take up space. Because if you have a whole bunch of stuff and it's just taking up space, then you're going to need a bigger house or a bigger apartment, and that's going to cost even more money and get your expenses even higher. Just not buying stuff in the first place can really help out with frugality, which of course can then help you on the road to financial independence. So wrapping up here, we've talked a lot about how to reduce the expenses side of becoming financially independent by being frugal. Now, a lot of people associate the word frugal with cheap. They're not the same thing. Frugal is a very positive thing. It's making sure that you get what you need and get the things that you want that are truly going to bring you joy in life and that you're really going to enjoy for a long time. Being cheap, on the other hand, is just trying to skimp and save randomly without really any thought or pattern to it. Frugality is a lot more about thinking very carefully about the financial decisions you make. It might include buying some, very expensive things, but you have to look at those things and see what they're going to give back to you in terms of your quality of life. Think to yourself, is this stuff going to increase my happiness and quality of life long term? So that's what frugality is about. So I hope this has been really useful information for you. Part 2 is going to cover the income and asset part of the equation, which actually gets a lot more complicated. We're going to get into investing, passive income streams, diversification, all sorts of really fun stuff. So stay tuned for that.
We hope that you found that really helpful and that you'll be able to use some of these tips. So remember, when you roam, everywhere is home.
Right there. So stay in but in the meantime,
he's like, put me down.
Oh, and one final quick thing. Be sure to sign up for our mailing list on homarome.com and we'll send you a PDF summarizing all of this information.